Yes, ladies and gentlemen, episode 83 of the Pokemon Journeys anime titled The Cleffa That Became a Star just dropped, and in this episode, our heroes are heading to Johto after learning of the sky turning pitch black and morning no longer coming to a town. And while investigating this, they also come across Cynthia. What's the reason for this, and will they be able to fix it? Let's find out. This episode is actually quite heavy, so I think I'm going to give a quick summary of the episode before I talk about the episode proper. In Johto, something has recently caused the town to be night all the time. When our heroes arrive in Johto, they meet a little girl named Kirara who likes to watch the night sky. While talking to her and her mother, they find out that the girl used to have a Cleffa that passed away recently. Her mother told her that her Cleffa had become a star, so she comes out to look at the stars often at night. Our heroes also learn from her that the nighttime being permanent recently coincided with Kirara saying that she saw a strange Pokemon before it turned nighttime. After eating lunch, Go figures out what Pokemon it might be since this town is near the Ruin of Alps and heads to an archaeology museum. There they come across Cynthia, who's just there to investigate the ruins, and after Go fanboys out a bit, they tell her the information they've gathered on the town and on the girl that has lost the daytime, and Cynthia decides she also wants to come and talk to the girl who saw the strange Pokemon. They meet Kirara again and confirm that the Pokemon was indeed Unown. We find out that when she was sad about her Cleffa, she wished that it was always night so she can always see the stars, and the Unown around her made that happen. And when they try to tell her that this could cause issues and they're trying to find a way to fix it, Kirara gets really upset and says she doesn't want it to be dawn. Her anger then brings out the Unown. The Unown then begin replicating our hero's Pokemon as an illusion to battle until Cynthia gets involved. There, they also replicate Cynthia's Garchomp, but Cynthia uses Sandstorm from her Garchomp to blind the Unown and their illusions before using Scale Shot to KO them. After that, the girl apologizes for being selfish. She talks about her Cleffa and how it's probably popular in heaven now. However, she's still going to feel lonely. So once again, the Unown show up, this time to allow her to relive her memories with the Cleffa and seemingly give her closure. Afterwards, the sky turns back to daytime. They talk to Kirara for a bit more about how the stars are always there even during the daytime, and that she'll always be close to her Pokemon. The Unown disappear and leave more questions than answer, ending our episode. So, if you can tell by that recap, this episode is really about grieving and dealing with grief. And we've seen Pokemon deal with this idea in a few different ways, and all of them are heart-wrenching in their own ways. This one is no exception. The premise here is actually similar to movie 3 if you've seen that, but in this case, denial and a bit of anger seems to be the main emotion. And honestly, it's understandable. For a kid who might have lost something close like that at such a young age, it can be hard to process their emotion. And that's what the Unown act as in this episode. They are all of Kirara's feelings bottled up coming to life. It's only after she's able to truly process her emotions about her Cleffa being gone that the world around her starts to feel more normal. It becomes daytime again. It's a sad yet important message for kids who might be feeling the same way after the loss of something close to them like a pet. It's important to show them that it's okay to be sad and upset at a loss, so I'm glad that Pokemon tackled this episode head on. On a less sad note though, one thing I did notice while watching, at nighttime they have noises made by crickets in the background, yet no Pokemon actually makes noises like that. The closest may be like Cricketune, but that one has a pretty distinct cry. Same with the daytime. There's background audio of seemingly normal real-life sounding birds chirping, and it feels a bit out of place, but that isn't something that I noticed until very recently, and I think that's been around in Pokemon forever. Here's another fun thing I noticed while watching. This Pokemon. What's its name? If I ask a casual Pokemon to name this Pokemon, they would say it's the Unown, and they would be right. But the way they would be right is a bit weird. See, if you look at how this Pokemon is spelled out in Japanese, it sounds like the English word unknown, and it makes sense. These are supposed to be super mysterious creatures. But for whatever reason, when they were translating it over to the West, they chose to go with the name Unown. Maybe it's just because unknown is not a real word, but no one I know calls it unknown. They all use the word unknown. Just something interesting that I was thinking about. Let's talk about the premise of this episode. A week without sun in a city would be brutal. Hypothetically, let's say that happened in an Earth to a city. That would cause so much more issues than the one we see in this episode. People's circadian rhythm would be thrown off, and they do talk about that in this episode, but more than that, there would be so much more real life consequences of no sun. Chiefly, the temperature in the town would drastically drop after a few days, and they said that this was happening for about a week. If that were the case, there would be an all hands on deck investigations to figure out what was causing it. Every major form of tribunal, police, detective, fire people, regular civilians would all be working on this case to try and figure out what might be causing this issue. Not just 2 kids and 1 Pokemon champion. Post edit here, let me correct myself, I'm sorry, 2 Pokemon champions and a regular trainer. I'm not saying that to ding the episode, by the way. These are just some of the observations and thoughts I had while watching this episode. A few other things I want to talk about. Cynthia's confirmed to be in the Masters A, and we had an idea of that before when Volkner talked about it, but Cynthia herself confirms it here. Speaking of Cynthia, by the way, I really like how she was used in this episode. Some may say that she didn't do much, but I really like that this episode wasn't about her. This episode was about Kirara, the Unown, and her grief. And in that sense, the fact that our heroes just happened to meet her feels enough like a coincidence that it doesn't feel like a forced reunion. And on top of that, she gets to show off her battle skills, and we learn that her Garchomp has a new move. That works for me. Also, Go caught a Murkrow in the beginning of this episode. I don't know if anyone remembers, because it stays in the Pokeball the rest of the episode, which makes me question why he even caught it. I know he wants to capture all the Pokemon, so I guess that makes sense, but I just kind of wish he'd used it in the Unown fight, so it could have actually done something interesting in this episode. That being said, if that was the only real issue I had with this episode, you know that this episode was great. This deals with a real life subject, it deals with grief and how someone goes through it. It used the Unown to showcase both the positive and negative emotions involved in the grieving process. It was done maturely, and the story was simple yet executed well. The music choices were superb and the visuals looked great. I don't need much else from a Pokemon episode. This is a Master Ball episode. In the next episode, Ash is heading to Mega Island to get his Mega Ring, and we see a lot of Pokemon that could Mega Evolve in this episode as well as the return of Karina. I can't wait for this. Also, by the way, there's going to be no episode next week, so this episode's actually the week afterwards. But anyways, that is it for my review of episode 83 of the Journeys anime. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can follow me on Twitter at TheRealPDGaming, and that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.